Chris Farrell, who is Director of Investigations and Research for Judicial Watch. And they have several things going on around Mar-a-Lago and also the Trump tax situation. Chris joins us here on the Dom Giordano Show on Talk Radio 1210. Hey, Chris, thanks for joining us today.
Great to be with you. Thanks very much.
Judicial Watch must be involved at any one point, Chris. You're a busy guy, you and Tom, with it seems like 100 lawsuits that break things loose. So let's talk, first of all, with the search warrant. What's Judicial Watch trying to do?
We filed a motion in the Southern District of Florida to unseal the affidavit, which is the underlying document for the search warrant. It's the special agent's sworn statement testifying as to why and how a search of the Mar-a-Lago residence was absolutely necessary. It was the only investigative option open to the FBI, and that they believed or had reason to believe that a crime was underway. And it's an extraordinary and really outrageous claim, but nonetheless, an FBI agent has sworn to that in some way or form, and that's what we want to look at. We want to see, first of all, who is this agent? What is he stating? What's the compelling case that was made? Because this affidavit is the foundation piece for the warrant that was signed off on by the magistrate judge in South Florida.
What's the timeline on that, Chris? Do you have any sense?
We filed our motion Tuesday night, actually Tuesday late in the day. The judge took judicial notice of it, meaning, yeah, I got it. I'm looking at it. And he then turned around and allowed the federal government to respond or to file a motion with him. I'm guessing it's going to be in opposition. You know, the feds probably don't want to give up that document. Maybe they will. Maybe they'll say, fine, release it. But my instinct is they're going to try to hide it as long as possible. What was a little disappointing is the judge said they don't have to answer until Monday coming up at 5 p.m. Now, look, the warrant's already been executed, so it's already ancient history. It's a fact. It's done. You can't unring the bell. So that's, to give them that much time, to give them a week to respond to an affidavit that they've already filed in front of him and sworn to us. Why does it take a week to respond to a request to see it? Frankly, there's no, at least in my opinion, there's no good reason. But nonetheless, the judge gave them until Monday at 5 p.m. We'll see what they answer and reply with. And then the judge will either seal it or unseal it, or perhaps unseal it in part. But our point was, we need to know the facts. The public needs an explanation. Garland is checked out. He's not saying anything. The Republican leadership is essentially, AWOL. No one's saying anything and doing anything there. Christopher Wray is not saying anything. So in the interest of the American people, we're going to demand an answer and try to force out the facts as to what's going on with this excessive over-the-top raid that went on.
Yeah, that would be it. That would be the tell on this. If they want unrest or perceived unrest to calm down, when people see this, we'll know one way or another. Either it's persuasive, yep, you had to do this, or if it's not, then that triggers even more stuff. How about the president and the tax situation? I think Judicial Watch has filed something on that, about that information going to Congress.
Yeah, I mean, I want to just for a second, just back up and touch on something that I want your listeners to consider over this raid for documents. It's a very important point. Look, this affidavit, purports that there's a crime underway, and that's the reason why you destroy someone's Fourth Amendment protections and you conduct a raid on their property and you seize their belongings. So it's got to be pretty heavy-duty stuff, especially when you're talking about a president of the United States. Here's the other thing. Supposedly the thing that's in contention are presidential records and documents, right? So these are records and documents. They're saying that there's a classification issue. Well, that's a 2-year-old classification issue that's been back and forth between attorneys for quite some time. And even if you take the worst-case scenario, if you're a Trump hater if you have, Trump's arrangement, scary orange man, he's the worst, and you think, oh, okay, he's stealing classified information. Let's say that's your position. Those records and documents were reviewed by the FBI back in June, so like 2 months ago, right? And since that time, they improved the security on where they were kept. They put a bigger, better, stronger lock on the storage area. And it's been on a presidential compound guarded by the Secret Service. So you tell me what the grave threat is that requires an FBI raid to get the documents.
Yeah, in fact, to that point, Chris, you really have opened up something here where we get into how this really should work. Maybe the negotiation is they actually sit there and say, that's our concern. This is not good enough protection. And then maybe both sides have to specify, okay, how about if we do this? We store it there with this Secret Service protection. But you're right, the Secret Service isn't good enough?
This points to the falsehood. I mean, this is what's so outrageously over the top on this issue. I mean, I got to hammer this home because it's getting very superficial treatment in the media. Look, every president since Roosevelt in 1939, when he turned over his papers to the archives, every single president has had a give and take, push and shove, back and forth, what to keep, what to send, what to send over, what to be sealed, how long, every single one of them. I literally have sat in the Clinton Presidential Archives in Little Rock, Arkansas, and in another room through a glass window that I could see, President Clinton's personal representative, Bruce Lindsay, was sitting there reviewing documents in boxes and then handing them over for me to look at. So I have been through this Presidential Records Act situation firsthand. I'm not guessing at this. I do it for a living. And so when there's an argument over records, the attorneys send mean letters to each other. They fight back and forth. In a worst-case scenario, you issue a subpoena. And if that isn't answered, you go to the judge and you tell the judge, look, they blew off our subpoena. And then the judge orders them to turn it over. I mean, that's the worst-case scenario. There's no way in the world you get to the FBI conducting a raid on a Secret Service-guarded presidential compound. This is so far beyond the pale. This is so nuts. It's hard to express it in adequate terms. And so I know that the American public gets little, 8-second sound bites, and they kind of have their impression already. But I just want you to comprehend how incredibly abusive, over the top, and insane this whole thing is.
And, I think at the end, Chris, it's not masterminds or whatever here. I'm in the camp that thinks they don't understand how this is going to be taken by people. Maybe people don't do it for a living as I do, and certainly you're more on top of this. But they have a sense out there that something is just not right, and they're feeling if it could happen this way, look at what they might be able to do to me. That's palpable. That's out there. If you don't want that, show us how overwhelming this is. Give lie to what we've just said. If you're not going to do that, well, then that's what we believe is the truth. Thank God Judicial Watch is out there. I didn't know that was your background on that, Chris. So your expertise, particularly now, is most needed. Where do we find Judicial Watch to support the work that you guys do?
The best thing to do is go to Judicial Watch, all together, one word, judicialwatch.org, O-R-G. And you can see all of our work, all the records and documents we get. We make them public. You don't agree with us, you don't agree with me, fine. Go read the records for yourself, make up your own mind. We're about educating the public about the operations of government. That's what we do. I've been there for 23 years, and this is not my first time at the rodeo. And what I'm telling you from firsthand experience. We got great investigators, great lawyers. They work hard, and you really need to see their product. So go to judicialwatch.org. If you like what you see, support us, please.
Absolutely. Chris, anytime. Thank you very much.
Thank you.